Hey guys, so, oh man, we gotta clean that lens. Okay, so it is, actually maybe this is good that this is fuzzy like that. So, it is February 6th. I'm heading out to Colorado for my writers conference. And if you see, lucky me, I'm in a hotel room. My money's still blocked, right? I'm dropping Stripe. Don't want to get into it. I'm super mad about it, but because they held my money for like over 2.5 weeks. But it tells me there were still some blocks. And I actually think one of the blocks came because I remember after I'd gotten my tow truck issued, I was like, all right, I'm not asking people for money anymore. And I had just planning on having that money come, and once again playing the game with people, taking donations and doing that, I had managed to kind of make it work, and I'd seen a lot of it work, and I was kind of stretching things out. But while I was in Rochester, honestly, I was here. I'm really tired, in more ways than one, but yeah, you can barely even see me. But I was just really roughing it, And I was very happy, right? It was joyful January. Sorry. So it was a joyful January, for sure. But I think one of the difficulties I saw was that I really pushed myself, especially my body. Ooh. And, I just hadn't slept very well. It was very cold. It was very difficult on my body, and I think I'm kind of just feeling that now. And it's just even getting hard. It's like even hard for me to sleep because I just think like it's almost like my body doesn't know how to sleep unless there's a certain level of discomfort. I was in the bed yesterday, and yeah, it's like I just didn't know how to sleep, and I was restless, and I was trying to meditate, and I was just like, it was just all this restless energy, right? And it had nowhere to go, so it was really difficult. So I've been going, and I realized, like, obviously if I keep doing that, I'm gonna go to burnout, but this has got to be a very mentally intensive month, or at least maybe it doesn't have to be mentally intensive, because I've always tell people like money is easy, and it's finance February. And the idea is that, if money's easy and it's finance February, that I should be able to, focus on it. But the idea is like right now, this February is about setting myself up financially in a place that where not only am I not having to ask people for money, but that obviously that I can start paying off debts, getting things back to people, but also start multiplying that and actively showing you guys that money is easy, right? And I set some pretty lofty goals, because I'm trying to have the most amazing year I can and film that for you guys and inspire people to do that, because, think about it. A month ago, right, I had $1.25. Seriously, like a month ago I had 5 quarters. That's all I had, and I stuck. I didn't really have, like, I had my prospects, of course, right, my emotional and mental prospects, but I didn't really have a set plan or anything. And now I'm in debt with some people. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not, right? Because I asked for some money because that Stripe is still blocked, and I think that was symbolic of something. I really do. I think that symbolically there's still some blockage going on that I need to work through. And so a lot of it was just recognizing, okay, so there's some finances here, but the thing is, the plan that I'm setting up, I'm like 90% sure that it's going to work really, really, really well. No, I've never executed it at this scale before. I've done it by myself at a smaller scale because I've held myself back before in the past, just because I honestly had a legitimate fear of money bringing in the wrong people. And I recently have kind of developed a system to kind of see and examine the people in my life and their relationship with money. And I've just always thought about what is the worth of a friendship. I was watching a video by Lana Blakely. I think I might actually even put it in the description. She was talking about different friends. And she talks about friends of a season, friends of a reason, and then friends for life. And I'm definitely at this point in my life where I really need to know who my quote unquote ivory tower is. And I'm like, okay, so who are the people that I know no matter what, they're always going to show up for me? And then, so I'll send out some texts. And like sometimes I'll straight up just ask people, tell them, hey, I'm in a tough situation. What can you do? And my biggest thing is, it's not even if they can give me the money, it's more, I just want to see what they'll do. You know what I mean? And some people will be like, oh, you shouldn't be testing your friends like that. It's like, I'm not really testing, but it's like legitimately, like if you were in a bind and you threw it out to your friends, how many of them, would respond back right away being like, hey, what can I do? How many of them would respond back saying like, hey, I can't do much, right? But they would respond. And how many of them would just ghost you? And it would just be this awkward block of text standing between you and their connection. And that's something that I legitimately, I put it out there and I waited. And it was very fascinating to see the people who answered back to me and the people who didn't. And then the people who did, what they answered. Right? And like just seeing some of the blocks that's going on, not only with me, but with them as well, right? And it's illuminated a lot of things because I really don't think I'm gonna be broke anymore. And so this money block that I've had, I've really decided just like, yeah, that's not gonna be there anymore. And it was really just this decision, guys. It was something that I've always been able to do, and like whenever I needed to, I've always kind of had this like little button that I could press, but there's a lot of it still attached to this security of relationships that I wanted. And I feel much more secure in that now. Like not fully and totally. That's why like if I was dating a girl, like especially if I was really rich, like I wouldn't ever tell the girl that I was really rich or whatever, and I wouldn't lead with that. And it's also one of the reasons why like I kind of dress down a little bit and like maybe my hair is not as great as it needs to be. I think I definitely need to clean up my appearance a little bit. At the same time, however, it's important to me that, especially at this point in my life, the relationships I'm building are more based upon lasting virtuous foundations rather than reasons or seasons. Because ultimately, like, I don't feel like I need people like that, right? I feel like I have God, and like if I need I can have buddies, I can have people that I acquainted with and do that. But it's very interesting when people say like, I love you, I got you, da 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 da, and then you test it and you see where they're at. And that's where I really think it's important to like, I always watch people who watch their words. And that's why I'm much more willing to trust someone who says like, who maybe comes off abrasive and is maybe trying to create a lot of boundaries at the beginning. I have more willingness to trust that versus someone who appears very, very open, but then they ultimately don't follow through. Or if they do, it's in very sort of sporadic, small amounts. And so, yeah, it's this very interesting thing. And honestly, I actually don't think it's bad to test relationships. Like, even thinking about that now as we're doing that, I actually think it's good to test relationships. I think we have to test ourselves as well. We have to test and say, like, am I showing up? I always used to think, like, it's not good to tempt God or whatever, but I realized that's tempting God with signs, but more and more I've come to see that my relationship with God was built around being like, all right, I'm pissed off. Like, if you're really there, show me up or I'm not doing this. And, like, God would reveal themselves to me more and more. And that's how my relationship with God got to the point where it is now, right? So I've realized, like, you know what? Maybe it's really not so bad to test things. And remember, like, the second part of the 7-part cycle, the second step is faith. And so February is finance February. But remember, finances is just another representation of faith. So really right now, this month, this is the month my faith is going to be tested. January tested my joy. I think I really learned how to stay joyful and happy regardless of the circumstances in January. I was cold, there was a lot of days I didn't have food. There's a lot of days, I was just kind of vagabonding and the car was stuck and I was cold, but I managed, and I think I was very joyful through that. And now I'm sort of walking the Omer in a way, a 50-month Omer. And this right now is This right now is just simply joy. It's faith within joy. That's all it is. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, counting the Omer, good for you. If you don't, I will make another video talking about that, walking the Omer. It's based in the Kabbalah, but this Omer, I'm actually going to be basing it off of my understanding of the 7 primordial forces. And if you want to learn more about that, comment down below, and I'll teach you guys more about that, the 7 primordial forces, because I'm realizing there isn't a lot of information about it out there. So I have a lot to share in that regard. Anyway, I think it's important to test relationships. I think it's important to test your faith. I think it's important to test yourself. Tests are good, especially if you're the one bringing them. So rather than waiting for tests to come to you, it's important to create your own test, because if you don't create your own test, life will do it for you. Yeah, I think that's a good way to end. Stay happy, stay healthy. Peace.